Good Monday morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with Daily Technical Update. It is the 19th of January and this video is for educational purposes only. There's no recommendation or advice whatsoever intended. So let's see what market looks like this morning here after new tariffs has been announced on some European countries. But first let's have a just quick look at what happened Friday in the US market. We saw uranium sector being pushed higher, almost 4%, 3.7% on the ETF illustrated at here. I'm not going to recommend any companies, but the sector seems to be in a bullish trend across the board, more or less at least. Also, aerospace and defense stocks were pushing even higher. Also very strong move indeed, whereas the whereas semiconductor industry also was 1.6 slightly higher, but that was due to the fact that the Thursday was a little bit negative. Not closed higher, but it did sellers had taken control from the get-go, but they jumped again on Friday. So let's see, we are slowly entering earnings season, and let's see here the coming weeks what that will mean for stocks. But it seems like especially some techs and financial will look very strong indeed. So let's see what the overall market did Friday. Basically unchanged. They're trying to open a little bit higher, but again sellers were in control, but it basically closed unchanged. So what's going on here Monday morning? Have to be said that US stock market is actually closed today. It's Martin Luther King Day, so market is closed, but the future is trading, and it is trading the Nasdaq future 1.3% lower, below the 55 moving average here. We are still in a negative sentiment. We see we were down below 40 there. We never closed above 60. So a bit under pressure, but we will have some, excuse me, some support here. The 100 moving average coming up. So in the region around the 25,100, 200 here, there will be some support. I might be testing these lows there a little bit. So it is a little bit under pressure. S&P 500 also closed unchanged Friday, but here we are in the on the futures we are down about 1%, and we are below this rising trend line there, and trading around the 38.2 retracement. However, the trend is still bullish. But as we talked about last week, it was a little bit stressed. We have some support there, 6,866. That could come under pressure. So let's see about that. The Dow Jones also a little bit lower here, has some support. Again, this is the future, and there will be no market, official market, until tomorrow. The Russell 2000, another all-time high close Friday. In Asian market, Hang Seng 1% lower, got rejected here last week above the resistance and peak up here at 27,188. Could sit back to 26,264. Nikkei a tad lower, but it was already stressed a little bit as we discussed. We didn't really do much the last week, basically trading sideways, but still bullish trend, as you can see, higher highs, high lows, and so on. Just stretched a little bit, as we can see here with the RSI declining. European market didn't do much Friday, but here this morning, the EUROStoxx50 is indicated to open 1.8% lower. And I talked about it a lot the past week or so, that it was a little bit stressed and we could be in for a correction. And it seems like now it's kicking in. And of course, the trigger was the tariffs threats that is coming from Trump. So let's see what that will play out. But the correction is kicking in. 5,900 support is likely to be tested today, and there will probably be some profit taking after the past few weeks of gains. Here also DAX indicating lower here, just pre-market as indicated by the GR40 CFD 24,875 is likely to be tested. It could dip even lower. Let's see about that. So we're already below 25,000 as I warned about last week that we could be testing. So be careful. However, the overall trend is still bullish and positive sentiment, no divergence, indicating we could see a bounce back anytime soon, but keep an eye on these support levels there. If it really, we get some panic in, well, we have some stronger support here, 24,476, which is also the 61.8 retracement there on the DAX. On the FX market, we have a bounce in your dollar. Didn't get all the way down to the 786 retracement there and the lower rising trend line. Trading above the 100 moving average, bouncing from it. So what will it do? Will it bounce further? And we can add that Fibonacci to here and maybe get some levels. If it can get back above the cloud, back above the moving averages here, 55 and the 100, well, then maybe it could establish a bullish trend. But I don't trust it until at least 117 needs to get back above 117, then it maybe could resume uptrend with a push, maybe up to the falling trend line and maybe up to 118. If it takes out the lows from today, well, then there's risk lower to 115. Sterling dollar, slightly bearish trend here, but not really confirmed other than, yes, it was a little bit stressed. Let's see if it can bounce here. It bounces from the 55 moving average, but it needs to get back above 135 to re-establish the bullish trend. Euro sterling, again this morning, bouncing a little bit from the 86.50 area, 86.45, and just above the 200 moving average. Can it bounce up to the falling trend line and the 38.2 retracement there at 87.25, and where we also have the 100 moving average? That will be key. Again, if it takes out the 86.40 here, well, then we're looking at 86. The yen pairs, not so active this morning. We're bouncing a little bit here on the dollar yen from the lower rising trend line here. Still in a bullish trend. But it is stretched, as we can see, with the strength indicator declining. So a little bit in a limbo, can't make up its mind. Should it keep pushing higher? I think if it crawls higher towards the previous peak there, then I think it will also challenge it and possibly take it out, and then we are above 160 possibly. Euro yen opened below the rising trend line, but it's currently trading back above, so the bullish trend is intact. Did we just dip a tad below? Yeah, we did. But again, the bullish trend is intact despite the fact that it is in exhaustion mode. But I think we could see it crawling higher. We're going to look at the yields out there, interest rates at the end of this video, where we can see we have higher yields in Japan this morning. Aussie yen, not really much either. It's still bullish trends above the rising trend line. Declining strength indicator indicating uptrend exhaustion, but for now it's still intact. And just to really change that picture, 103.85. If it takes that out, well, then we have a different situation. Sterling yen dip lower this morning, but still above the support here at 209.80, and that is key. A move below, especially close below, but a move below, well, then we could see a pressure down to around 207.5, 207 possibly. Aussie dollar can't really, I mean, the past week hasn't really done much. Lower and lower volatility. Let's see if it will break out anytime soon. I mean, the moving averages are still rising, indicating we are likely to see higher Aussie dollar levels. But I don't trust that until at least we get above that spike up there at 67.30. And you will notice it actually says 67.27, but I always add a little bit when it's to the upside. Dollar Canada yesterday spiked a little bit higher here, so I'll adjust that, and there's no harm doing that. We are still in this range to trading behavior here around the 55 declining, 100 moving average rising, 200 slightly turning around there, maybe positive sentiment. So I actually expect it to crawl higher towards 140 plus, but it's not there yet, it seems. It could possibly take a little bit longer time before it really turns around. However, if it takes out 138.50, well, then we could see a correction down to 138, 137 and a half. Sterling Canada, frustrating one, so I don't want to say much about it. There's no clear direction, sliding back here. And what we can do, we see some levels we can work with here, it actually touched 61.8 retracement at 185, and the 55 move just above the 55 moving average bounce from it, and I think it will eventually push higher here after this bounce right there. Swiss franc, Euro Swiss, let's zoom in and see what's going on. This morning spiked lower to test this key support there at 92.65, didn't take it out, so we are still in this range here. Between 92.65 and 93.5. Breakout is needed for direction. RSI is in a negative sentiment, indicating it will be to the downside, be also below the 55 moving average and the 100 moving average. They're both declining. We're actually below the cloud, so let's see where we will be at the end of the day, if it will break lower and push below 92 towards 92. 92.35 to 92. That's, I think we will see that eventually, but for now it's still holding on. Dollar Swiss setting back this morning here after reaching the 786 retracement area at 80.30. If it takes out 79.50, well, then downtrend is likely to resume, and 79 area could be reached. For continued bullish push, needs to take out the Friday peak there at what is it, 80. Thursday peak is actually higher, 80.40 there. Dollar index opened higher this morning, but sold throughout the session until now, at least around the 61.8 retracement there, just above 99.25. Let's see what it will set back, and here we can also add a Fibonacci to it, so it at least gives us some levels. I mean, it's not the strongest one, but still they are there. I think we could see it setting back to the 38.2 retracement there, 98.59. If it moves back below 98.42 and close below, well, then a downtrend could come back in play. Moving on to metals, they are back this morning, early session in Asia and following through here in the European session. We have gold pushing to new all-time highs, very close to 4,700. I think it will take it out, and we could now see a push-ups to 4,800 area at these Fibonacci projection levels here. We have 161.8 at 47.22, and 48.27 is 200% of this correction there. So that's where we seem to be crawling to at the moment. The silver spot also new spike higher, but not that convincing. But it was also depressed a little bit towards the end of the week last week. Reached 1764 projection, just below 94. Still, I have written here on my little keypad, on my notepad, that we could test 100. I think some market participants are thinking about that. 103, I think we could spike to. The platinum basically still sideways, a lot of volatility, but haven't pushed higher. Needs to take out the peak there, 24.90 for a push higher above 26,700. Let's see if we can do that. Positive sentiment on the RSI telling us it will most likely do that. A little bit of correction in copper that started last week. We could see the RSI, the strength indicator, was declining, indicating uptrend exhaustion. So we are maybe in for a correction. Support here at 569. If it takes out that, well, then we could be looking at 540, 538 area here, where we have the 55 moving average coming up. On the energy market and the WTI crude oil, just above 55 moving average, so really not anything going on there. 58.88 support being tested. Still positive sentiment, but all moving averages are declining. So it wasn't that convincing, that spike up there. Same picture on Brent Crude oil, of course, just below the support there, 64. Stronger support there at 62.73, and what we also have the 55 moving average coming up. We can also see if we will have some Fibonacci levels corresponding nicely with them, and we are currently taking 50% of it back from that uptrend there. So let's see if it can bounce back and push towards previous peak. I mean, if gas market is any guide, then it could be that scenario to play out. Here we have the European nat gas that had a massive move last week. It spiked to 38 euros, but this morning it's setting back a little bit. Don't know why, because they're actually promising colder weather in the northern Europe, but that's what it is. We have set back to the 38.2 retracement and support here just around 33.90. Could slide back further to 32.50, but very volatile at the moment. So seems to be a lot of nervousness going on. The US nat gas bounced also this early morning up to the 200 moving average. Let's see if it takes out the spike up to the peak today. Well, then we could see a push higher towards $3.83 and $94 maybe even. If it closes this gap, then I think downtrend will resume. An interesting development in the interest rate market. The US Treasury yields 10-year Friday finally, not that we are happy about it, but finally broke above the resistance here at 421 to the 200 moving average this morning, above 200 moving average. So we have this inverted shoulder, head and shoulder pattern, and it seems like we are headed for higher levels. 430 could be reached fairly soon, and then there's actually potential to both 435 and 440 and maybe even 445 in the coming weeks. It's hard to say how fast it will move, but we will see positive sentiment on the RSI indicating likely higher levels. On the weekly, still negative sentiment, but we have established bullish trend with higher highs and higher lows, both on the daily and weekly. So it seems that's the way we are headed. We are going to look at the EU Treasury yields, also a little bit higher Friday, but sitting back this morning here, but it spiked up, bounced up to 50% of this downtrend here. So now we are trading around the 280, 285 for now. If it takes out Friday peak, then I think we'll see it pushing higher towards 280, 280, 290. UK also bounced, and so I added a set of Fibonacci levels to this downtrend there, but we are in a bearish trend. Negative sentiment on the RSI indicating lower levels. If it takes out the 433, then we're looking at 425, possibly lower on the UK 10, but for now that's not really the name of what's going on. The Japanese 10-year, well, spiked higher this morning, strong bullish move there, and we can see that how it has broken above its falling trend line on the RSI, so indicating likely higher levels, and I think we could see it pushing higher towards 245. Will we get there? I don't know, but at least that's where we seems to be headed at the moment. It reached, it has surpassed 261.8 projection with this little correction there, and the bigger picture 261.8 up there at 245. It's eyeing that, but let's see if it gets there. On the Bitcoin, sitting back here over the weekend following this morning, but still, as you can see, higher high, higher low, higher high, and will it be higher high, higher low. 55 moving average rising. We can also see it's forming a channel-like pattern here on the RSI rising trend line, so it's still supporting higher levels. Just a bit of a correction following the stock market a little bit, or at least the futures. More or less the same picture on the Ethereum, and that seems to be slowly pushing higher, but the key resistance there at 3,477.78 that should be observed. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and be careful out there. And while we have been talking, EU market has opened, so let's have a look at that. Here we have the EUROStoxx50 that has set back a little bit here, 1.3%, and the German market is just about to open. Yeah, it opened there just at the 38.2 retracement. At 24,900, just below 25,000. I warned you about last week that we could see a correction down to 25,000. I didn't expect it to be that fast, so but let's see what will happen. Could it bounce from there? All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and talk to you again later.